Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lisa Salberg with the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association. It's now about 10 after 12 on May 9th, 2018, and we're live on Facebook with a wonderful HCMA Share Your Story. We did have a little technical difficulty. We're back. We're going to restart from the beginning. So today, we're doing an HCM Share Your Story, as I said, and if you would like to share your HCM story with our community, both on Facebook and on YouTube and on our website, you can contact the HCMA at forhcm.org through our website, or email us at support@forhcm.org, or call us at 973-983-7429. Speak to our staff members and tell them you're interested in sharing your story. Today we have an amazing story that comes to us from the Midwest of the United States, and Tonya is going to share her story of not only hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, but of more complications due to HCM, and I'm not going to give away the story yet. So now I'm going to introduce Tonya to you all. Welcome, Tonya. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Tonya, and I'm 44 years old, and I have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and I found that out around 30 in an unusual way, sort of.
Okay, so let's go back to you being 30, and let's go back to a particular day. Two of them we want to talk about. So June 6, 2004 and June 8th, 2004. Why are those days special?
Well, I got married, and it was June 5th, actually. I got to remember that. And I got married, and great ceremony, perfect day. It rained, which gives you luck on your wedding day. And then 2 days later, we had just moved into an apartment in Arkansas. And about 6 in the morning, I woke up and said I couldn't catch my breath. And my husband was home, thankfully. And I moved to the end of the bed, and I put my head down, trying to catch my breath. And then I collapsed. And that's when he called 911.
So you collapsed at 911.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't start CPR.
He didn't. No. I don't think he even thought about it. I've never had any sort of heart issue. I was very healthy. I was a runner. I just don't think he even thought that it could be heart related at all.
So as you're having this event, when does he realize, because obviously you're not conscious, when does he realize that you're actually having a sudden cardiac arrest?
I think he must, I'm not sure when he realized, but when the ambulance got there, they shocked me in the bedroom twice, and he saw the shock. He saw them do it, and he says it doesn't look anything like it does on TV. It's pretty violent, your body, you make noise. It's not like it just, it's pretty traumatic, I think, to see somebody that you just married shocked like that. So he saw that twice. They did that twice, and then they took me to the ambulance, and I think I was in there for a while, and then they went ahead and took me to the hospital.
So they transferred you from one level hospital to a higher level hospital.
Yeah, they took me to the closest hospital first, and then they transferred me to another hospital.
And did they ever tell you what they thought the reason for your cardiac arrest was?
They did say, well, they used the term sudden cardiac death, that's what I had experienced, which, being alive, I was like, that's an odd name. So that's what the cardiologist, when I saw them after, that's what they called it. But and they said I could have HCM, but they didn't know. They looked into long QT and all these other kinds of things, but they didn't think that my heart was enlarged enough for an HCM diagnosis.
And you stayed in that area for a while, and then you moved. And what happened a few years later when you moved?
Well, we moved to the Kansas City area, and so I got to go to KU, which is an HCM Center of Excellence. And so my care changed pretty dramatically, I think. I was on a beta blocker then, and I was not doing well on it. I was very lethargic. They changed my medicine. I was told I couldn't have children and when I was in Arkansas. My new cardiologist said that I could go ahead and do that. And he really was said I could exercise. Like, he just gave me a lot more freedom than I had had from my previous cardiologists.
So they told you you could have a child. So what did you do?
So I had a child. Yeah, in 2008, I had my son River. I actually did have some complications from the pregnancy. I experienced heart failure during my pregnancy. So after that, I had my tubes tied just because of the complications from that.
Okay. So after your son born, you participate in genetic testing.
That's correct. Yes.
And what did we find out?
We found out that they tested me first and we did the whole panel, and I have the T-tropin gene. And so they tested him for that gene, and he has the gene as well.
So you guys have a troponin T mutation, correct?
That's correct.
It tends to be associated with a lesser degree of hypertrophy.
Okay. Well, that explains.
So that's why your wall measurements aren't that big. And there is some data to suggest that there might be a more proarrhythmic state there, but the jury's still out on whether we can use genetic information to ascertain that. But so now you have a troponin T mutation. Find out your son is a carrier.
That is correct.
Okay, Mom. How's that feel?
I'm sorry. It's scary. It's scary. It's costly. That's for sure. You're always in the back of your mind, just scared when he's not in your sight or near a defibrillator. What could happen? So
you have a home AED, even though clinically right now he's not diagnosed.
He is not. No, he's not diagnosed. He gets echoes every 6 months, and he does the Holter monitor as well, where he wears the device he wore it. He used to only wear it for 24 hours, and now he wears it for 2 weeks, which that's fun. It's way better now. When he was a toddler.
Yeah, that's a little rough. And hopefully the next time he does it, maybe the patches will be available for pediatric. And
he did a little, it's a little device now, but I had to keep taping it on, and then it was going off at school. His teacher thought he was having it's always fun.
Life as an HCM parent, right?
Yes.
You're monitoring it and you're keeping an eye on it and you're doing the best you can. Okay, so now we're a mom. We failed to mention that, of course, you got an ICD after your cardiac arrest.
Yes.
You got an ICD. You've had your child. You had a little heart failure during that. But then he's diagnosed and you kind of go into a honeymoon period. Things are really quiet for about 10 years. And you were doing really well.
Yes, I did really well for a really long time. Just living my life,
And work? Do you work?
Yes, I did work. I was an autism specialist at a school. And so I worked with students on the autism spectrum. So I did that for a very long time. And since then, I've had to stop working because of my health. And I probably won't be able to go back to that ever, unfortunately.
Yeah, that might be a difficult one because now your son is what, 10, 11 years old?
He's 9.
He's 9. Okay. So he's 9. Your symptoms have kicked up and now you're unable to work anymore. So what's going on with your symptoms now and where are you in your care?
Well, now I have been moved to the heart failure transplant section of the at KU. So I see a new cardiologist and it's been going really well. We're just trying to figure out how to get the fluid off and working on that, just working on symptoms at this time.
Okay. And where are they projecting your pathway for care?
I think probably transplant is definitely something that will probably have to happen, but they really want to wait until it's absolutely necessary. So we're going to just...
Good idea.
Yeah, we're just going to keep on keeping on until I guess things get worse.
Yeah, we got to keep a close eye on that. So you're home now. You're able to spend a lot more time with your son.
I do, yes.
And you're having your good days and your bad days. And what's life like on a regular day for you now? How much energy do you have? What's happening?
It's totally dependent on my fluid level and how much fluid I have. If the fluid is down, I feel pretty good. I can think clearly. I think that's one of the main things that people don't realize is that when you have a lot of fluid on you, that it causes you some cognitive issues, which is difficult, and you don't even realize it, until later. You're like, what was I thinking? Or when you make a mistake, you see it later, Mm-hmm. So when I have the fluid off, I can think clearly. I feel okay to drive like pretty close to my house, but I wouldn't want to drive very far just because it's just nerve-wracking. I could have an arrhythmia. I just don't know what could happen. So there's just a lot of stress and anxiety and not knowing how you're going to feel and what you can do, really.
So I happen to know that somebody who's watching this is living a very similar experience right now. And I can just imagine somebody up in Connecticut might have a couple tissues by her side right now saying, this is exactly what I'm going through. So you're not alone. And there are many other people who are listening and who will watch this later who will say, this sounds really familiar. So I want to talk a little bit about coping. How are you coping with this change in your life, and how HCM has kind of taken front seat as opposed to back seat?
Well, my family is really supportive. My husband has, been through this since 2 days after he got married. So, he's very supportive and helps deal with, he has to kind of step up a lot more than he had to, just because I'm not sometimes available. Just stuff like that, just parenting and things like that. And then also, I think one of the hard things for me has been dealing with the changes in my appearance, just dealing with the fluid, and you just, you never feel like you look like yourself. That's really hard thing to get used to. And how to dress.
I finally have my face back after heart failure, transplant, prednisone, and I have color in my face. And I'm actually taken aback a little bit by looking at the computer screen, my skin tone to your skin tone, because I look like you 2 years ago.
You're like, I'm beautiful.
I just have color now. By a long shot, girlfriend, but I actually have color in my face now, and you have that pale heart failure look now. Mm-hmm. So don't fret. Maybe the cheeks will come back to rosy without Maybelline.
Yeah, I put blush on, but
we do what we can. You did say that you had your eyelashes done, and it makes it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
gorgeous.
Thank you.
And sometimes taking care of yourself that little bit more and doing something nice for yourself helps you kind of get through the day.
For sure. Yes. Mm-hmm.
For sure. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about, as an HCM patient, as a mom, what are your hopes for the future of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy? Well,
I would hope that it didn't exist. I mean, that would be my hope. But, I'm on Twitter and follow all the for HCM and stuff like that. And I did see during the conference that you guys had, somebody tweeted about embryos and testing embryos. And that's like the first time I've really had hope that my son's child you might not have to deal with it.
You're going to do this to me. We all want our grandchildren to be HCM free. The amazing thing is, with today's technology, we might actually be able to do that. And with newer technology like CRISPR-Cas9, it might even be easier than doing the in vitro and the whole PGD thing. So maybe the next generation, we can eradicate it from our families and give them life HCM free. That would be absolutely extraordinary. And I know we all share in that wish that, number one, we wish we could cure it,
Right.
Two, we wish we could just make it disappear. But if those two aren't really options, if we can stop somebody else from getting it, that'd be awesome. So damn, girl, you're making me cry again. Okay, we didn't know this was going to be teary day, but you know.
I knew it was. I was prepared.
I didn't bring my tissues. So let's focus on some good things right now. That we do want our future generations not to have HCM, but you seem to have like 9 lives here, girl. So we've got a cardiac arrest that's aborted, 2 days after you married. You have your son, you go into heart failure.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're managing, this heart failure again years later. And you've been on the HCM balance beam, which probably started out this wide and is now kind of really, really narrow. But you're here and you're enjoying your son and you're enjoying your family. And we're focused on the what next step, not the I give up aspect.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really an important place to be and to acknowledge that you're there. And we've all been at our bad points in HCM and we rebound and we get through. And the majority of us do really, really well, even if we have a spell that's bad or maybe a year or two that's bad. So I'm hoping that we can move you into a positive place in your therapy, and that will help you be there for your family for many, many, many years to come. So let's talk about what it's like to have HCM, change your life completely, stop working, have to change that social dynamic because the work friends aren't really there anymore. How do your friends and colleagues and family accept what's going on with you? Do they really understand your illness, or is it hard for them to understand?
I mean, it's very hard for people to understand, and that's one of the things my husband and I talk about all the time. I think like when you have cancer or other diseases, you look pretty sick. Whereas, I feel like I look sick, but most people would not see that at all. So that's the thing too. Like just people not understanding, like, why aren't you working? You're up, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's one of the things that's happened with work and, just, having to change my profession after I have my master's degree. And that's a scary thing to think about, like how I'm going to move forward once I can go back to work. What am I going to do? And financial things are very scary as well.
So you're currently on short-term disability.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You've applied.
Mm-hmm.
They denied you.
That's correct. Yes.
And now we have to go back and fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because your ejection fraction is 50-ish.
Yep.
But you're in low output heart failure. And they don't get it because on paper it looks okay. And you can actually stand up and speak. Meanwhile, your heart is going through an entirely different phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And society doesn't recognize us yet.
Yeah, that's for sure. Even when you're dealing with stuff with heart failure, like just looking at all the things, like it's always about the ejection fraction and things like that, where even people that know a lot of stuff about heart, they just don't think about the diastolic. And
diastolic dysfunction is something that people don't really appreciate and understand too much. So we have these messages that we want people to know, and it's don't judge a book by a cover.
That's for sure. Yes.
And just because we don't look completely smashing one day doesn't mean that we don't want to be told that we look okay. Would that be an appropriate comment?
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to take some questions, and I'm going to take a few minutes to look at some of these lovely comments that have come in while we've been talking. So we're going to go backwards. Some of these are in time order. So I will admit that this is the person from Connecticut that I thought was listening. And I suspect that you two should probably catch up on Facebook. Hi, Amy, because you guys have an awful lot in common right now. Jack wants you to know that he thinks you're a very strong woman and mother, and I'm wondering who Jack is.
He's my friend.
I suspected as much. Hi, Jack. Okay, Alyssa, we talked about her son, and he is 9, right around the same age of one of yours, I believe. And Alyssa has some genetically positive little kiddos there too. Debbie says howdy. Debbie always says howdy. So we've got that. And when I called out Amy before, yeah, she admitted that that was her. Dora, yes, this is my husband. He has I'm sorry. Yes, my husband has this HCM. Okay. So I hope you've contacted the HCMA and let us help guide you in your journey. And Amy was really getting it. So Dora's lost a child to HCM. We're very sorry, Dora. It's an unfortunate part of our reality at the HCMA that unfortunately not every family member makes it. I've lost 5 family members myself, and it's kind of why we fight hard every day here for you to make sure that we have successful care and management. So Alyssa wants to give you a great big hug. So maybe at some future HCM meeting you guys can meet up. And Dana, I'm suspecting you might know Dana too. She loves you very much.
She does. Stop it.
They got your back, girl, and so do we. So I'm not going to even pretend to pronounce his first name, but he thinks or she thinks you're a tough lady. So we've got some really great comments here. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, we'd be more than happy to address them. But I think we've covered quite a bit here today. We have really amazing HCM warriors, or HCM warrior princesses, as I call them. And I think it's really important to share these stories and let us all work together to help each other improve quality of life, mentally, physically, and supportively. So are there any final messages you'd like to give to anybody, Tonya?
I mean, there's hope. There's a lot of hope.
There is a lot of hope. I'm kind of living proof of some of that. I've been down so many of the same roads, and I've not mentioned them through the steps, but you had a cardiac arrest right after you got married. I had a massive stroke. I went into heart failure when I had my child. You went into heart failure when you had your child. At about your age, I started to be precarious, and by 48, I was transplanted. So if I can do it, you got this. It's amazing to see how we can manage this disease, and through the grace of organ donor families all over the country, we have a second chance. So let's hope we can keep you stable for a good long time, get you all tuned up, and when it's time to take the next step, we're all going to be right there behind you. Thank you, Tonya, for sharing your amazing story, your strength, and your passion, and your love of your family. And we look forward to working with you during the next part of this adventure, because we've been together in this since 2008-9.
Yeah, you've been a huge support.
We're glad to be able to be here for you. All right, everybody, thank you for your wonderful, beautiful comments, and we look forward to sharing another story with you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.